Hi, and welcome back to Biblical Theology, Exegesis, and Hermeneutics, where meaning is always context-driven. I'm your host, John Strazisich, and we're continuing on here today in our 10 questions to test yourself concerning if you have a biblical cosmology or if you have one that happens to be man-made. Okay, so we're continuing on here in the questionnaire here to determine whether or not one has a biblical cosmology that's derivative from the biblical text, or if someone has acquired a man-made cosmology that was spoon-fed to them by the current education system. And this is just a questionnaire here to determine, what type of cosmology that you have. Either it's going to be, it's either going to be something that's come from the Bible, that you can actually turn in the Bible to a verse to show, my cosmology is very biblical, and here's a scripture to explain why. And if you can't do that, then that would be saying that something else has informed you of where you think you live, and what you think the universe is like. So, just by way of review, the questionnaire: do you believe the Earth is orbiting the sun? Do you believe the Earth is spinning to create night and day? Do you believe the moon is a reflector of the sun's light? Do you believe the firmament is just the atmospheric expanse? Do you believe the sun is a star? Do you believe the Earth is a planet? Do you believe that God created planets? Do you believe that stars are massive and far, far away? Do you believe the sun is stationary in relation to the Earth? And finally, do you believe the Earth is a sphere? So if you have answered these questions in the affirmative, then you're going to have a very, very tough time being able to open the Bible and to justify why you would believe such things. And I'm just simply wanting to point these out because they're just simply things that we were all spoon-fed, and we were forced to believe, thinking that this was scientific and that it's based on science. But as you're going to find out, there is no scientific basis for any of these conclusions. And you're going to find out that the Bible is inimical to any of these ideas. Okay, so today we are covering question number 2. This is part 2 of a 10-part series. And last week we covered the first question: do you believe the Earth is orbiting the sun? And today our focus is going to be on: do you believe the Earth is spinning to create night and day? So we're going to actually open up the Bible to actually find out if there is an answer to such a question. Okay, when we come to this slide, we're looking here at Ecclesiastes chapter 1, verse 5 here. And it is written as a die stick. And it just simply says, and the sun rises and the sun goes. We traditionally translate this: the sun rises and the sun sets. But the verb here just means to go. And it just means that it's continuing in its, as we found out last time from Psalm 19, that the sun is on a circuit going above the flat earth, and it's going around in circles above the earth, and where nothing is hidden from its heat. And so according to Solomon here, under the inspiration of the Holy Spirit, the sun rises and the sun sets. Now the B part of the diastic is a little more informative. And it says panting or gasping to its place. And it gasps or pants to its place. And there it arises. And then we could fill in with the word again. So here clearly Solomon, the wisest man to ever live, clearly states that the sun is what's rising and what's going, and the sun is panting or so yeah, I think this would be a good translation, is panting to its place, and there it arises again. So that he's definitely talking about the sun is what's moving, and the sun is what's creating night and day, and it's not the earth moving or spinning. It's the sun that's moving. It's rising and moving and gasping, as if it's trying to breathe to go to its place, and where it arises again. So folks, the Bible just has a different cosmology. And, you really can't just sit here and say that, this, all Scripture is inspired by God and is profitable for doctrine. So if we're going to create doctrine off of this verse, the sun is what's moving, and it's gasping and to where it is going to arise again. And if you don't like that, I guess maybe you need to find a different religion. Maybe you can worship at the altar of Carl Sagan, or Copernicus, or some other, magician that you could find out there, that can conjure up something for you. But if we're sticking with the Bible, we're answering the question here. Does the Bible say the earth is spinning to create, day and night? Well, let's move on here to Joshua chapter 10, verses 12 and 13. Let's see what Joshua has to say. And Joshua, the narrator says, "Then Joshua spoke to Yahweh in the day that Yahweh put the Amorites before the sons of Israel. And he said to the eyes of Israel, O Shemesh, Begivom Dom, V'yareach Be'emek Ayalon." So this says, O sun, be still in Gibeon. And then in line B, O moon, in the valley of Ayalon. Okay, and then there's a statement here, and the sun stood still, was still, and the moon stood until the nation was avenged of its enemies. Okay, and then here's the statement, collaborating, the author here, the narrator of the book of Joshua, then gets collaborating, other evidence from a different source material, and he says, "Is it not written in the book of Hayashar?" Okay, the book of Jasher. And then here's the quote from the book of Jasher. And the sun stood, halfway in the heavens, and it did not hasten to go as a whole day. So, I mean, that's a literal, a literal translation. So the sun did not hasten to, we can say this is, lavo, this is just the infinitive phrase of the verb, to go, but here to go down as a whole day. And so the narrator here is, narrating, the story, as it came to him. And then he actually, has a quotation of the very, words of Joshua, in poetic, in a poetic, distichs here. Where he says to all Israel, he says, "O sun, be still in Gibeon, and O moon in the valley of Ayalon." So this is just one of those days where you can, see the sun and the moon, during the daytime, and that actually happens quite often. And then it said the sun stood still, or the sun stood, it was dome, this is Yadom here. This is just was silent or still, and the sun was still and the moon stood until the nation here, referring to Israel as goy here, which is a little unusual, but it does occur a few times in the Hebrew Bible, until the nation avenged, we can say, itself of its enemies. And then he doubles down and looks for collaborating evidence that he had source of that came from this book of Jasher, and it was recorded in the book of Jasher that the sun stood, halfway in the heaven, and it did not hasten to go down as a whole day. So definitely Joshua, the narrator, and the book of Jasher here, all state here that the sun is and the moon is what stood still. And notice here that, Joshua understood that it was the sun and the moon that are moving above us. See, so definitely, you think the moon is moving, but the earth is spinning. Okay, this text says that the sun and the moon stood still. So the sun is what's moving. And if you think God is confused, again, I mean, maybe you think God ought to go down to hell and take, astronomy lessons from Carl Sagan down there. Maybe that's what you think that God should do. But if you call the Bible, if you think you're biblical, and you took this questionnaire, and you answered in the affirmative, well, you don't have a biblical cosmology. You just have a man-made one. Okay. And I'm definitely calling out all the apologists. There's a lot of apologists on YouTube. Oh, there's a bunch of them. There's a bunch of them. Oh my gosh. I could name names, I don't know if I need to do that this time, but, Ken Ham and, Mike Winger, and some guy named Warren McGrath or something like that. There are a lot of people who are on YouTube that where are you when it comes to biblical cosmology? I'm just reading the Bible. There are no verses to support your position. I mean, you're welcome to try to state that the earth is spinning. I don't know how you're going to find that in the Bible, but I find that the sun and the moon and the stars are all moving above us, And that's the biblical cosmology. So, do you believe the Earth is spinning to create night and day? Well, if you think it's spinning, the Bible contradicts this. Solomon does, and Joshua does. And there's just we're just getting started. This is just part 2. All right, this has been Biblical Theology, Exegesis, and Hermeneutics, where meaning is always context-driven, and no less today. We're just following the context of history, culture, the biblical text. Please like, share, subscribe, make comments, please. I welcome any type of feedback. It's all welcome. And you got to remember, folks, I was all, I would have answered all these questions in the affirmative years ago, but my eyes started to be open here when it came to this subject, years and years ago here. And I've just found out that a lot of stuff that we were told just it's not true, and the science it contradicts it as well. We'll probably get into some of that in the course of this little exercise that we're on.